Let's talk about Mike Caldwell in the defense and who on the offense and the defense will have a special game this weekend to beat Houston. I'll tell you in just a second on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Thank you once again for joining me, Tony Wiggins, on the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where it's your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen. A quick reminder that we're free to subscribe to on our YouTube page. Make sure you tap into Locked On Jaguars on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notifications anytime that we drop an episode. And if you listen to audio podcasts, wherever you do that, make sure you tap in every day so you don't miss an episode of Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Another big quick shout-out to the everydayers for joining us every single day here on Locked On Jaguars. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. You're here now, so guess what? Come back tomorrow, you'll be an everyday or two. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. Got a big game this weekend against the Houston Texans. And I know folks assume that just because the Jaguars are favorite to win the game, and Houston hasn't shown much, and they're a very young team, how's that a big game? I'm glad you asked, because we're going to really get into why it's a big game. Can Mike Caldwell – no, let me rephrase that, because I'm not going to ask it as if it's a question. I'm just going to tell you. Mike Caldwell can keep the momentum on D while the offense figures it out. And hopefully they get it figured out this weekend. Who will shine on both sides of the ball versus Houston? We'll go through that. And what a big win means. By a big win, I mean a win that is the game is over by the time the fourth quarter starts, a large margin of victory, a dominant performance, what it could do for the Jaguars moving forward. But first and foremost, the defense. The defense has been the most consistent and the only consistent part of the Jaguars for the early in this season anyway. Excuse me. They've been the best thing cooking. And week one was against a rookie quarterback. Last week it was against the best quarterback in the NFL, and you saw the same results. So no matter who the opponent was or who they were playing against, the Jaguars were able to stop the run, muster up whatever they needed to do in order to play well on defense and hold the opponent under 20 points in both games. Hopefully they do that again this week in a game where everyone expects them to do it. We sort of expected the Colts game to look different, and it didn't. It looked a little bit disjointed offensively and until late in the game. But it's just we're looking for the consistency. That's what everybody's looking for. And if they don't get it early, we have to hope that Mike Caldwell's defense can continue to play well. The worst thing that you want to see is like last week, the defense comes through with a great effort and the offense can't give them anything. No finger pointing. The offense, I heard guys in interviews saying that they were pissed off. So no finger pointing. It's all about accountability. It's all about Trevor Lawrence and the offense getting better and doing the things that they have to do in order for this team to win. I do think that we want to see a complete game. You want to see a complete game. You want to see a dominant game with both units as well as with the special teams. That's all we want, because championship teams and teams that can contend for championships, they look a certain way. I always say it looks like a computer program. It's like you just put a hard drive or a hard disk in, turn it on, and you know exactly what's going to happen when you start the program. It's going to play and look the exact same way. Now, the NFL sometimes doesn't afford you to do that because teams actually try to take away things that you do well. But for the most part, there's a look that championship teams have. And we all want to see it because we believe that, before you can actually get there, you have to have demonstrated performance. That is our phrase that we use here a lot. Not just to give confidence to the fans, but to give confidence to yourself. and to see exactly what it is and how it is and how you have to move. And against a team like Houston, they're not supposed to have a chance. Even though they went in overtime last year against the Chiefs, a team like Houston is not supposed to have a chance with a team that wants to win a Super Bowl. But in the NFL, we know, I had to take me a drink real quick. That's not an adult beverage, by the way, but we all know that on any given Sunday, anybody can make you look bad. But we also know that if you're a good, consistent championship caliber team, you also will look like yourself more often, way more often than you'll have that occasional bad day. So the Jags have had, in my opinion, a couple of bad games offensively. I don't think the Colts game was terrible, especially in the first half, but it seemed like at some point they got a little bit disjointed. And I know it's easy for everybody because everybody's been doing it. Trust me, I ran into some people today. And I actually ran into somebody that is very connected, and they said the players seem to not be really taken to the play calling. And I think there's a bunch of hogwash. Because no matter what is played, you have to play better and you have to play well. So there are some people that believe this is all about just Press Taylor taking over the play calls. And no matter what Doug Peterson says about that, they're not going to believe it. They're not going to believe it. I wish Doug would really break down and say, you know what, I kind of took over here and it didn't go well. Sometimes it's just a little bit of information. I'm not trying to mute anybody, but sometimes that's a little bit of information that you just don't want to get out because it kind of takes on a life of itself. And the reason why I don't want the Press Taylor thing to be the excuse that everyone kind of holds on to is because if there are any real problems with this team, you're gonna mask them yourself by constantly. What if it's personnel? What if they're just not good enough? What if the people that they chose to be on the team just are cut, just a cut below what they really, really need in order to make that last jump into being a real, real serious contender? And y'all still talking about the play caller. You just leave room, and that play caller could very well be it. But while he may be a problem, you still have to admit that ultimately it's on Doug, and he's standing there with a headset on, and he sees everything that's going on, and he has veto power right away. I'm sure they talk about the plays. Hey, where you going here? Okay, that sounds good, or whatever. I really, since we know now that that's going to be a point that people are going to keep debating, I wish we had the privilege to hear the conversations in the back and forth so people would realize that Doug has a lot more to do with the play calling every single down than we're giving him credit for. And even if he doesn't, he's still the head coach. The one thing we do know, and that's why I led it with this today, is that Mike Caldwell has done a fabulous job so far with the defense. He really, really has. The takeaways that they worked on and that they talked about as being one of the things that they really, really wanted to focus on, guess what? We see your work. We see it, and it's working. It's working like a mug. So hopefully you'll see a complete game from the offense and the defense. But if you don't, at least let the defense keep going and doing the things that it's doing, and we'll start sitting here thinking, is this 2017 all over again? I know that's a little bit drastic to say that to a lot of people, but it is what it is, man. It's going to be what it is until it ain't. That's what I always say. People are going to talk about it until they don't have a reason to discuss it anymore. And that's just the way it goes. All right, so segment 2, we'll talk about who will shine on both sides of the ball. One of them has to be a rookie who struggled a little bit last week, and that's Anton Harrison. We'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. But first, I have to let you know about Gametime and the Gametime app. If you don't have the capability to get an app, go to gametime.co. All right. And what it is, man, is you want to buy tickets to any kind of event that's going on, including Jaguar games, you can do it with the Gametime app. I'm telling you, tickets to any and every event, comedy shows, there's some big concerts. Everybody's on tour, from Beyonce to Taylor Swift to Drake to 50 Cent. If you want to go to any of those shows, Gametime app is the place for you to get it. Now, you don't have to worry about if it's last minute because they're going to be able to help you. Unlike other people, They will help you with killer deals on last-minute tickets, and they have the best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you're going to have at the event. Here's what you do. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we're going to hit you up and tell you about another sponsor we have today, and that is DoorDash. You trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivered that actually delivers too. That's right, a grocery delivery service from DoorDash. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order, up to $20 value when you use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code LOCKEDONNFL. Don't forget, that code is LOCKEDONNFL for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. All right, running along here on Locked On Jaguars as we talk about the game with the Houston Texans, the game that I hope no one is overlooking, because in the NFL, you can't do that. But I still, even knowing that, think that you should have the expectation that some of the things that you believe should happen are actually going to happen Sunday. And what that is a convincing win by Jacksonville, hopefully. The defense continuing to play well and continuing to trend upward. Hopefully Trayvon Walker shows up again like he did. I think he played okay last week against the Chiefs. He drew a couple of holding penalties, and he was very, very active. They're going to need him a lot this week because Josh Allen is going to play, but has a little bit of a banged up shoulder. Laramie Tunsil's coming back, and so is one of their other linemen. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult than some of the teams that have played Houston so far that had to play Houston without Laramie Tunsil. But you still got a rookie quarterback he's a pocket passer. He's not one of those little jitterbug dudes that's going to run. Now, pocket passers, they can have presence and slide and move around too. But you still want to see the defense show up. They got some young receivers. Tank Dell is one. He had a big weekend last week. And they also have a very, very tall 6'4" receiver on the other side, in Nico Collins, that is going to it's going to be a little bit of an issue if he lines up, I think, with Darius Williams, who have a real big height advantage, maybe about 6 inches. Not so much with Tyson Campbell. So it depends who has to guard him. So let me tell you who I think from the Jaguars has to play big this week. On defense, I think it's Trayvon Walker. I'd like to see Tyson Campbell. I know Tyson's probably chomping at the bit to get back at it because he gave up a touchdown last week. And he doesn't, no competitor at that position likes to be the guy who is on tape giving up touchdowns. So I anticipate that Tyson Campbell plays well. I want to see Devin Lloyd continue to do Devin Lloyd type things. It's going to be key that they tackle Pierce, the running back for Houston. He's hard to tackle. Don't give up those extra yards. Make sure you put pressure on the quarterback, but also mess up the timing from the wide receivers, because C.J. Stroud does a real good job of getting the ball out and putting the ball where it needs to go from a timing perspective. Offensively, the middle three on the offensive line has to play better than they played last week. And when you talk about the guys on the edge, Anton Harrison. Okay, you faced the Hall of Famer. They moved Chris Jones out. That was very good coaching, too. Even though the Chiefs always kind of move Chris Jones outside, they were licking their chops to move him outside last week against the rookie in Anton Harrison. And it went really, really well for the Chiefs and not well for the Jaguars. Well, this week, he has a rookie by the name of Will Anderson. who has played well early in the year. He only has 1 sack at this point. But I think both of those guys are probably looking forward to it. After going up against Chris Jones, a future Hall of Famer, and a second-year player in Karlaftis last week, Anton's head is probably spinning like, is this what I got to deal with now I got to deal with this dude that's been the best player in college football defensively for the last 2 seasons. Yeah, but you probably have a little bit of a sigh of relief because at least you're looking at somebody that's your age. At least he's one of your peers, right? It's somebody you saw through the draft process. And I don't even know if Oklahoma and Alabama played, but this is one of your peers. So, and quite frankly, Will Anderson is probably doing the same thing. Like, oh, I got a rookie, because he's been going up against veterans that don't let him get away with stuff. And now he's going to be looking across the line. He's going to see somebody his age. That's going to be something I'm going to watch. I want to watch those two guys do battle. Will Anderson does line up on the left side of the formation. A lot of those teams that play that type of defense, whether it's Robert Saleh, whether it's now D'Amico Ryans, that play that way, that Seattle sort of four-man front, they put their best pass rush on the left side. That's what Chris Jones was with Kansas City. He's in a four-man front. They put their best, most athletic guy on the left side. That's where Karlaftis is. And then when they move Chris Jones over there, that's where they are. That's where he was. So, you know, that's where Nick Bosa plays. It's where Joey Bosa plays. It's where Khalil Mack played. There's a lot of guys that play on that side of the ball. So Anton Harrison, I'm with you, man, but you got to show up this week. I want to see Calvin Ridley get back on pace to have a really, really good day, and Trevor Etienne. And then we want to see Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, Shady McCoy, who doesn't think Trevor's that good, is probably peacocking somewhere saying, look, I told you he's struggling. I don't think he's struggling like that. I think he struggled a little bit in the last game. And remember, one of my fears for the last game was that he would start trying to match wits with Steve Spagnuolo. Don't do it. He's too old. I ain't trying to say the man's old, but look, you know what I mean. Trevor's a young kid. Spagnuolo's been around in the NFL longer than Trevor's even been on this earth. So don't match wits with him. Don't get up there just trying to change plays. Be confident, but I would just run with whatever they ask me to run from the sideline. That's what I hope Trevor Lawrence does. What a big win would mean for these Jacksonville Jaguars. And what would it mean for the fans? Well, I'm going to tell you what it means. I believe it'll give them the confidence that they'll need before they get into the real meat of their schedule. They got a couple of games in overseas in Europe. I think they need to look and feel like what they believe they are. And I don't think they've done that yet. Too many games like that starts making you doubt yourself. So I don't want them to do that either. But I do believe the Jacksonville Jaguars need a game that expresses their true identity, or expresses who they want to be. Because if they don't show it sooner or later, it's going to turn out to be, well, this is really who you are. So I'm going to tell you more about what it means for them to have a big game, for them and for the fans. And I'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars after I let you know about PrizePicks, the sponsor of our show. And we're going to tell you about them right here before the third segment. It is the best daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's independently owned. And it is too exciting for you to not be playing. PrizePicks is just the flat out truth, because it's you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on anywhere between 2 or 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I'm telling you, man, you can do it. Justin Jefferson for less than 100 yards and Lamar Jackson for more than 1 passing touchdown. Oh, yeah, you can do that. I know you can do it. I'm pretty sure you can, and I'm going to have fun with it. You ought to do the same thing. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to prizepicks.com FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit. Highly, highly encourage you to do this. It is a whole lot of fun. It's PrizePicks, PrizePicks.com. All right, it's Tony Wiggins here on Locked On Jaguars. Every day, your team every day. I'm also doing a show called Locked On NFL. If you don't know, it's on Wednesdays. But you don't have to wait till Wednesday. You can go Monday through Friday and check out Locked On NFL, the podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. You get comprehensive NFL coverage from around the National Football League from a bevy of my colleagues on the Locked On NFL Network. Make sure you tap in, like, and subscribe. Locked On NFL as well. Okay. What a big win. And by a big win, I mean a win with a nice margin of victory. What that actually would mean. Let's start with the team. We talked about it a little bit. We teased it as we went away. I think what it means is you'll start to actually, there was this idea of who the Jaguars were before the season. They haven't looked like that. Defensively, they have, but offensively, they haven't. So we want to have a complete game. In fact, the biggest question about this team was the defense coming into the year and Mike Caldwell. And was the scheme correct? And, are they going to be able to put people in place? Because last year, before they decided to put Trayvon's hand on the ground more, and before they decided that Darius Williams was not a slot corner, that he was better outside, despite the fact that he's 5'9" and 190 pounds or whatever, it took them a while to realize that. So far this year, I think, especially when you consider the loss of Devon Hamilton for the time being, they've really done a real good job of not overextending guys, not having the wrong they haven't had the wrong package in. They haven't gone small on the defensive line when they should have gone big, or vice versa. Mike Caldwell has actually pushed all the right buttons so far this year. And you see guys actually elevating their play. You see Trayvon, even though some people still don't think he flashes as much as he should, you see him looking better. You see Devin Lloyd looking better. You see Andre Cisco actually taking that next step that we have anticipated that he would take. And Tyson Campbell has been steady, except the one play. Darius Williams has really, really played well. A lot of guys along that front that aren't being heralded. Roy Robinson Harris has done a real, real good job. So we've seen all of those things happen, but we just haven't seen the offense look the way the offense is supposed to look. So if we get a complete game where both units look good and they run away with it, and there's a lot of celebration, and you'll probably get a big sigh of relief from the fans. But more importantly, you might get a big sigh of relief from the players, because the players will probably say, that's us. That's who we are. Because right now you can't say that, because who they are is an inconsistent team that doesn't look like they don't even look like they practice in training camp sometimes on offense. And we know better. We know that they did. So what it would actually mean is, before the Jaguars go on this stretch where they're going to be away from home and playing 2 straight games away from their own fans, and they're going to be gone for a couple of weeks. I'm sure they'll be gone. They're going to take their families with them if they're going to be gone for 2 weeks. I'm sure the Jaguars made arrangements for that. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I think before you go on the road, and they're going to play 2 tough games. They got Atlanta and Buffalo. That's not easy. Atlanta's undefeated, and they've looked real stout, right? Before you head to play those 2 games, you need to at least get a glimpse and don't have any doubt that you are who you are. I haven't mentioned something, and that is the prospect that they would lose this game, because I don't think it's going to happen. But boy, if it does, we will have a conversation for you on Sunday during the postcast, and Monday is going to bleed over, okay? It is really going to bleed over on Monday. I think it would mean a lot for the fans. I think it would get rid of a little bit of anxiety that people have about the team not looking the right way. It'll stop all the conversations about who's calling plays, and all of that stuff. So Cam Robinson comes back in game 5, right? So you want the offensive line to be playing well when he comes back, and give them a big decision that they'll have to make. My guesstimation is that he'll move to left tackle, and they'll slide Walker Little in the left guard, and Ben Barch will be the swing lineman. Even if a tackle gets hurt, they just move Walker Little out to tackle and put Ben Barch in Walker Little's spot. I think that'll probably be the best course of action. So what it means, you just want them to do what good teams do, and that's go out when they play teams that they're better than, look like they're better than those teams, and put a whooping on them and mollywop them and get them on out of the way so that they'll at least be 2-1 going into this tough stretch that they'll have. That's what you want. And then you just want, as a fan base, I know Jaguar fans have been a little bit unbearable because everybody's thinking real big this year, and they should be. Well, you want to say, no, that's more like it. That's the theme. Hopefully, during the postcast that I do on Sunday, which will be about an hour after the game ends, you'll all say, that's more like it, and that's what we're talking about. All right, what I'm talking about with you guys, man, is staying here with Locked On Jaguars. We really, really appreciate you. A little bit of news. Over the next, from not this week, I'll be fine. The following week, I actually have a procedure. I'm having hip replacement surgery. So starting on Tuesday, you get some shows that will be relevant to what's going on at the time. But for a few days, I won't be able to record, but I will give you some really good shows to listen to. So I'll make that announcement again over the next week. So I want y'all to know that even though I'll be out with surgery, I will be here. Okay. I'll be here. I'll probably only have 2 or 3 days where I can't record live, and then I'll get back up and I'll be right back at it. So that's not this week coming up. That's next week. So just look forward to it. But a lot to do this weekend. We're going to hopefully beat the Houston Texans and get back together on Sunday evening for a postcast and have a very, very joyous 15-minute session here on Locked On Jaguars. Until then, you guys do what I always say, man. Just take care of each other. Until the next time.